This is exercise 8.2 from the textbook. The purpose of this exercise is to practice reading code and to start recognizing general patterns in array traversal in particular. So the directions for this exercise are: write one sentence that describes what the method does without getting into the details of how it works. For each variable, identify the role it plays. So I think I'm going to do these kind of backwards. I'm going to identify the variables and try to figure out what role they play, and then by exploring that I will be able to then write a sentence describing what the entire method does. So let's start at the top with public static int banana. Banana takes a single array as an argument. So I have three different variables in play here. I have A, which is my array that's coming in. I have kiwi, which is some kind of an integer. And then I have I. I is almost always an index. That is, it's almost always the thing that's counting through the array. So I'm going to test that assumption first. So it looks like I starts at 0, and I have a while loop that keeps looping until I gets to be the length of the array. And then I goes up by 1 every time. So for sure this is the loop counter, and I'm just going to note that to myself. You don't have to do it on the code. I mean, this is just for me to keep my mind organized. So I have determined that I is the loop counter, and it's going through the whole array. So I might even say that traverses whole array. It's not really the loop counter that's doing that. It's the while loop that's controlling that, but somehow in my mind it's tied to the index. So I'm going to note it here. Okay, so here, how about key? Well, kiwi, because A is obviously the array of ints, so that I kind of know. But what is kiwi doing? Well, kiwi starts at 1, and it looks like every time through the array, and we know we're going through the whole array, so each time I get to a new array element, I take the value in kiwi and I multiply it by the number that's in that slot in the array, or a sub I. So if kiwi starts at 1, the first thing I do is I multiply 1 times the first element in the array, and then I set it back into kiwi. So now kiwi has the first element in the array in it. Then I go around the loop again and I multiply the current value by the next value, and so I can see that if I keep going through the array each time, then kiwi is eventually going to have the product of every number in the array. So I could just write myself a note that says, maybe actually here would be a good area to do it. Product of all nums in array. Cool. So it looks like I actually returned that product at the end. So overall I can say that banana does the following. Given an array, return the product of all, given an array of numbers, of integers, return the product of all ints in the array. Okay, let's see grapefruit. So grapefruit. Grapefruit takes an argument, which is an array. It also takes something called grape, which we're not sure what that's for yet. Other variables in play here are I, and that looks like it. There's a -1 that might get returned, but that's not a variable. So A must be the array of ints. I don't know what grape is. Let me start with the low-hanging fruit, and figure out what I does. I hope I is my index, and it looks like it starts at 0, and it goes up to 1 minus the length of the array, and it goes up by 1 each time. So this is definitely traversing the whole array 1 by 1. So I'm sure that now I know that I is the array index. So every time through the loop, what are we doing here? It looks like I'm testing to see if the current value in A is equal to grape, and if it is, I'm returning that index. So grape is some kind of a it's like a value I'm searching for. So this is like a search term. And it looks like if I find that search term, I'm returning from the method, and I'm returning the index. Otherwise, I'm returning -1 if I got to the end and I didn't find it. So I can overall say that the point of this whole method is search the array for the item in grape. If found, return the index -1 if not found. Okay, well, I guess the book did say one sentence, so let's say return the index of item grape in the array, or -1 if not found. Okay, let's hit pineapple. Similar kind of thing here. Let's see if it's really the same. A is an array. Apple, not sure what that is yet. Pear, not sure what that is yet. Pine, not sure what that is yet. Okay, so we have a lot of things going on here. So let me start with pear, since I'm hoping that I'm going to find an index somewhere in here. This is a modified for loop that we're not really going to talk about too much in this class, but what this is doing is this kind of for loop does go through A one at a time, and each time it puts the value of the item inside Pine. So with this kind of a for loop, we don't have access to the index, we only have access to the value each time. This is saying, and so this is a search term also, because I'm checking for equality. So I'm going to label this the search term. I'm checking to see if each item is equal to this. So if the current item, which is in Pine, is equal to my search term, then I increment pear by 1. So pear is keeping a track of the total count, total number of matches. Every time I find a match, I increment pear. I go through the whole array and I do this, and at the end I return the number of matches. So I will say returns the total number of items that match search term apple. Okay, that's it.